What's up, guys? Welcome back to Chris Bosch Props. Today I wanted to show you again some of the progress that I am making here on the Robocop suit, but I have to show you just how beautiful it is today here in Texas. I mean, look at that, guys. It is so sunny, so green. I might need to come out here and drive this bad boy, just how beautiful it is today. Take it out on the backcountry roads and enjoy the Mustang. But we're not here for that, so let's get back over here and let me show you the progress that I am making on my Robocop suit here. So here we are again, guys. Like I told you before, we were gonna dig in and go deep on the bodywork, and I was not lying. We are going hardcore on the bodywork. I like to call this stage in building any kind of suit, this is the stage that really separates the men from the boys, guys. I mean, when you get to this point, this is where you're going to find out if you really want this or not, because I'm going to be honest with you, this part sucks. It really sucks. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's a lot of work to get the body work done. I'm not going to lie. If you're doing any kind of suit, Robocop suit, Iron Man suit, Halo suit, what other suits do they have? Batman suit, any kind of suit that's 3D printed, you are going to put in countless hours of sanding and body work. This stage really separates the men from the boys. The easiest part is printing the suit out and putting it together. To me, that's the easiest part. Anybody can do that. A lot of people do that. But when it gets to this stage, this is where they fall flat. This is where they give up. Unfortunately, when 3D printing, guys, I'm just going to be frank, it doesn't matter what kind of printer you have. The new trendy one right now is the Bamboo Labs printer. I mean, you can have a Bamboo Labs printer. You can have a Creality CR10. You could even have a FlashForge Creator Pro from years previous, even to the Creality CR10. It does not matter. All of the printers still print pieces with print lines. You have to fill them in and you have to clean the part up. Unfortunately, guys, that's just the way it is when it comes to 3D printing, at least with FDM printing. There's just a lot of craziness in the 3D printing world, guys. I know there are so many different printers and it's very confusing for everybody. There are printers that are better than others, ones that last longer than others, but in the end, they kind of all do the same exact thing. They all print the same type of pieces and they all use the same type of filament depending on what you choose. And the end result is still gonna be a lot of work, guys. That's all I'm trying to express. I don't wanna lie to you. I'm trying to be transparent when it comes to this suit to show you guys this stage, because this stage is not fun. I don't want to hide it from you guys because it's very easy for me just to show a perfect suit and not show you the parts that are in between. I want to bridge the gap for you guys so you can see this is where you are going to be. Now, there are all kinds of different methods to smooth out 3D prints. There's tons of them. Everybody has their own way. This is my way of doing it. I go through different stages. I use different materials for certain things. Where we're at right now is I'm using Bondo spot putty. This can be found at Walmart, AutoZone, O'Reilly. It's getting a little bit easier to find now, and all I do is I put a little worm out, just a little bit of it, and I add a little bit of acetone. I mix it up and I just use a little painter's brush and I brush every single part. So it is not pretty at the moment. This is just to help get rid of the general print lines. It's not going to get rid of everything, but it does get rid of a good majority of the lines in the print. And then it gives me a good foundation to start with. And then after that, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to brush on any more spot putty. I'm going to build up the layers of my filler primer. And then I'll go back and do some spot putty on little spots that, you know, little gouges or pits or whatever. And I also use plastic metal. I use plastic metal to fill in, or I use it more to level out uneven seams from when I glued pieces together that are just a little bit uneven. I notice in particular a lot of the ones I have are in the legs, on both legs, especially right here. It kind of just, you can see the line right there, it slopes downward. So I'll come in with plastic metal with my finger and just rub it against that line and start leveling all that out. That's primarily what I use the Bondo plastic metal for. And I also use the Bondo plastic metal, I wanted to show you guys, for stuff like this. So this is a piece that was glued together to the top. As you can see all around, it's pretty nice. It's smooth and you can't tell, but right here there was a little bit of warping, so when I glued the piece, it's a little bit feathered outward and it leaves that gap. So I'm gonna come back with some Bondo plastic metal and fill in this gap with it. Bondo plastic metal is a little bit harder than the red spot putty, which is, it has a slightly softer texture to it. It's not gonna harden the same way that the plastic metal does. The Bondo plastic metal is somewhere in between actual Bondo with a hardener and spot putty. It's somewhere in between there, but I like it for the big gaps like that to use the plastic metal and fill it in. We got a lot of sanding to do, guys, so that's going to be the next step. I'm not going to do it in this video. I just wanted to show you and really express that this is the point where you're really going to decide and find out how bad you really want a Robocop suit or any kind of suit that you're doing, because this is really going to take a lot of work. It's going to take me hours and hours, and I don't even know, it'll be days of sanding. Let's just put it that way. This is just the first layer. I have to sand all of this. I'm probably going to use 220 grit because you don't want to take too much of the red off. If you use a lower grit sandpaper, it's just going to take you back to where you started. You really want to take advantage of having this spot putty on here so that you can leave it in the lines without taking it off within the lines, if that makes sense. So yeah, make sure you use a higher grit sandpaper when you're at this point. 220, 320 will do you really good. So yeah, that'll be the first step, is just sanding this down with some 220, and then I got to start building up the filler primer layers. The filler primer that I use is Duplicolor filler primer. As I said before, I absolutely love this stuff. The downside is it takes a long time to dry or cure. It takes about, depending on how hot your day is, 6-8 hours. Sometimes I just leave it overnight, but it just sands like butter, and it leaves a really nice, uniform, smooth surface. And that's the advantage to this filler primer, is it just sands so smooth. In combination with this, I was turned on by this by a Darkwing Dad, is the Bondo gray filler primer. And I really like it. It's good for some things, but I don't like to use it over the whole surface. It doesn't go on as uniform and as smooth as the Duplicolor filler primer, but it's great for filling in certain spots in certain areas if you don't want to print the whole entire thing, or I'm sorry, if you don't want to paint the whole entire thing. This does really well on just touching up areas. But I do still go over whole entire pieces with it, but I'll use it in conjunction with the Duplicolor filler primer. I kind of rotate between the two. But my finishing primer, without a shadow of a doubt, is Duplicolor filler primer. This is just to fill in imperfections and smooth them out, and then I'll go over with the Duplicolor filler primer. It's a learning process, guys. You got to find your own way. It doesn't matter which technique you use. There's so many techniques on filling in print lines, but it doesn't matter. It's still gonna take lots of work. There's no easy way to smooth your print lines out. Another thing I want to touch on when you're doing a suit is becoming your own worst enemy. Now, what I mean by that is, A lot of us are perfectionists. And what I mean by perfectionist is you want everything on the suit or your piece to be absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with perfectionism. Seeking perfection is what makes what you're doing great. It really does. But when it comes to these suits, guys, don't become your own worst enemy. You really want to be able to finish it. Don't worry about every little imperfection, especially if you're wearing it. Now, if it's just a display piece, I understand. But you're really probably the only person that's going to see it or know it. I wouldn't worry about perfection. I'm going to be honest with you guys. When it comes to this suit, it's probably, in my own eyes, going to be 75 to 80% perfect. I'm not worried about every little print line. Nobody's going to be able to tell. If you seek to achieve 75% perfection instead of 100%, nobody's going to be able to tell the difference from your 75% to 100%. I guarantee you, when you're wearing it, you're still going to turn as many eyes and put people in awe by just lowering your standards. Because if you seek perfection, and this happens to a lot of people, you're never going to finish the suit. You really will. You'll never finish it. I was listening to Frankly Build. I like watching Frankly Build every now and then. He's more of an Iron Man guy. But he said it, and I've been suspecting it all along. He said, there's probably 95% of people that never, ever finish their suits. And it's true. They don't realize how much work this is. It's a lot of work. And not only is it a lot of work, if you're your own worst enemy and you're seeking perfection, you're never going to finish it. Just try your best. Get it as smooth as possible. Don't worry about print lines and every little gouge. And even in the 80s, these props were not perfect, especially this Robocop suit. In the 80s, I have tons of reference photos. There's gouges, there's pitting, there's scratches. The suit was not perfect. Even right out of Rob Bottin's hands, it was not perfect. So I'm not overly worried about every little print line. I want it smooth enough. I want it pretty enough, but it doesn't have to be perfect. My last suit that you guys loved and adored, it was not perfect. It was probably 80% perfect. If you get really up close, you might be able to find a few print lines, but overall, guys, it was not perfect. I wanted to finish the thing. You know, that's my goal. When I set out to do something, I want to finish it, and you should too. So if you get to this point, if you're trying to achieve perfection and how smooth you want it to be, it's just going to make you more stressed out when you go out and wear it at a Comic-Con or an event. So yeah, keep that in mind. You're going to scratch this thing up. You're going to bang it up. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. So don't worry about perfection, guys. Just worry about making it good and good enough. And trust me, you'll still turn eyes and you'll still be able to enjoy it. So please, guys, when you're doing these suits, don't worry about perfection. Just try to get it good enough so that you are able to finish it and complete it and you don't fall behind. Trust me, nobody's going to see those little print lines that you missed. And always remember too, keep in mind, as paint covers quite a bit. So you might have a little bit of print lines remaining after your initial body work. Some paint goes a long way. I'm telling you, paint and clear coat really cover up a lot of imperfections. So guys, I appreciate you watching. I really, really do. Again, if you have any questions, please comment, please ask, and I will try to answer to the best of my abilities, guys. But as I always say, we're on to the next one. Thank you for watching.